Hello, good morning, angels. Welcome. I'm in my PJs. So, this is really for my inner circle group. If you're just joining, this is going to be in my angel pack actually. I can show this publicly, but welcome to my bathroom. I'm in my PJs. I wanted to share with you something crazy that happened yesterday. Okay, so let me sit right here first. Okay, so I have my beautiful dragonfly. I have my little dragons and talisman and painting from my son. Little fairy right here. I have a print that was given to me by Patricia Dalilaip. That I interviewed. She's an author that wrote a book, Myth, Magic, and Metaphor. And I interviewed her about this book, and she gave me this print with the unicorn and the dragon, and we talked about the unity, the balance between the good and evil, and a different perspective because she's more religious. So for her, the dragon represented evil, when for me it was representing the balance of the forces, For me, dragons are not evil. The unicorn symbolizes maybe the gentleness, and the dragon, the strength, right? But both are working for the light. The dragon brings the fire, the creative fire, and without fire, humanity couldn't even survive. This is one of the first things that was given to humans, the primitive humans, so they could feed themselves, is fire. They could cook the meat and the food and stuff like that. Our stomach cannot digest food without the digestive fire, okay, to transform the food to keep only the nutrients. I have my little perfumes here behind me. Okay, see, I have also this Van Gogh painting here. My grandfather was a painter, but he would like imitate all the super famous paintings from Van Gogh, Renoir, Utrillo, all these painters like that. And since I was a child, I wanted to paint. I never really had time because I was traveling a lot, always working and stuff like that. And it's funny that I'm actually talking about this, because what I'm going to talk to you about today is actually deeper than what I was going to share, but about karmic and transgenerational traumas and stuff like that. So my father, it's a little personal story. My father was abandoned by his father. My grandmother was abandoned by her husband when she was at a hospital, literally giving birth to her son. So my dad was never really feeling loved. I don't know if because my grandma is the most loving person, like too much. She would compensate all of this lack of love, I guess, in her life, but giving so much, a little bit like me. I've always felt alone in my life, and even though I had friends and stuff, I didn't feel like I had this level of love that I deserved, and then I compensated it by giving that love to everybody, giving so much sometimes that it would even like drain myself. But he would be like the complete opposite. Like he couldn't stand my grandma trying to show love, he would always be angry, criticizing everything. No patience, no ego, ego, because my grandmother was always so kind, telling him how everybody's beautiful, that he really believed that he was perfect, I guess, never questioning himself into anything. So you can literally never have a conversation with this kind of people, because if you don't agree with them, they can't just agree to disagree. If you don't agree with them, they will just leave the room or be angry or just insult you, like literally for the past year. So every single conversation was an argument. When I was a child, I felt like his confidence, was knowledge. I was like, oh, well, he's so sure he knows better, So, but when I started having my own way of thinking, I was like, wait a minute, he's like a dictator. Like, you're not gonna let me, rule my mind like that. And And so that was kind of okay until we had this argument about my grandmother, because my grandmother was everything to me. And I'm her only grandchild. And so, she made me promise all of her life that she wouldn't end up in a retirement home. All of her life, she was like, my only fear is, I want to die in my house. I don't want to die in a retirement home with these crazy people, and what happened, of course, when you fear something so much and you keep repeating it, then you manifest it. So when I moved out of France from a very young age, I've left since forever, like 17 years old. I already was moving to different places for studying here and there, working, always going back to France. But when I moved to US and I had a child, then the cost of traveling is more expensive, doubles the size of, you have to pay for 2 plane tickets when you travel. It's no longer, oh, I found a cheap flight, I can fly whenever I want. So I went to France less and less. And then my dad started feeling resentful for me for not being there to take care of my grandmother. And while he lives 10 minutes away from her and is retired, has no other children, not married, nothing else to do. But anyways, so I'm not here to criticize him because I think he's in his own suffering. So he's worked all of his life in a job that he hated just so he would be able to pay an apartment. And then he would be mad because once he paid off his apartment, he would have to pay taxes on it. And he was like, oh, and then when I'm dead, there will still be taxes to pay on it. I was like, okay, well, stop complaining, find solutions. I was like, if you want, one day I told him, I was like, if you want, we can create this SCE, it's called, it's like a tax detour you can do to actually put the patrimony within your family, right? And we can put it on both of our names. So whenever you pass on, I can get the thing you've worked for all of your life, which to my opinion, when I bought my house, it was for my son. When I buy a jewelry, I'm like, oh, this will be for my granddaughter. I always have this thinking, or when I create a mastermind, it will be for the next people who come after, and I want to leave my legacy. All of this knowledge, these things I have in my mind that I understand, other people need to know it. So for me, it was logical that he's worked all of his life, to pay hardly for an apartment that he wanted to give to me. I was like, well, then don't let the government take it. Let's make this paperwork so then I can have it and I don't have to struggle to pay for it. No. I don't want to do paperwork. Like, just forget it, whatever. Like, this level of selfishness, like, it's not even at all. It's not even like, I wish that you die, It's like, think about after, whatever you've worked for, you criticize the government will take it, but there are solutions and you're not willing to do it just because you're so lazy and selfish, So that was always like this. Always this level of like not making an effort for anybody because my grandma would do everything for him. And I have a great example actually. When my grandma got a little kitten, Tommy, because she liked Tom and Jerry, that was funny. We would always watch Tom and Jerry when she was younger, when we were younger. And she got this little kitty. And I remember I surprised her. I knew she was going to get a kitten. And so I went to her house and I was hiding, when she was going to get the kitten. And I went and hid in the house. So when she came back with the kitten, she saw me. She was like, oh, what are you doing here? I was like, I'm here to welcome the kitten. And like right away, like first month of the kitten being there, she would let the kitten do everything. Like the kitten would like climb on the curtains, like rip off the paper on the walls, like tear up the couch. And she'd be like, oh, Tommy, stop, Tommy. Like, I was like, beat the cat. Like, what are you doing? Don't teach him. Like, don't beat the cat, but I'd be like, scare him, like train the cat or it's gonna be horrible. Next thing you know, the cat was horrible. Like, you could never pet the cat was just like freaking dictator. And I was like, oh my god, this is what happened with my dad. Like, she covered him so much that now he's just he doesn't know what it is to actually have people who have a different opinion or things like that. So I'm more like empathic towards him of how much of a suffering he's living in, you know, of hating society, thinking that everybody's against him. Or when, for example, we would go to Peru and like I booked the entire trip. He comes to see me in Peru. I booked the entire trip. I planned a whole sacred valley of the Inca journey just for us. He didn't have anything to do, just show up. And we get there and I go buy some boots, right? Some super cool, awesome Inca boots that I put them on, and it starts raining, right? And we were gonna go visit this Saksa woman, sacred place, and I'm like, okay, well, let's take a cab. It's gonna be like 5 minutes. And it's like, no, we're gonna walk. You know, there's some stairs and stuff to go there, but it's kind of muddy. It's like, no, we're gonna walk. I'm like, why? We can just take a cab and, you know, be there in 5 minutes. And so anyways, he was just throwing such a tantrum. We ended up walking, right? And which I didn't mind, but I didn't want to put mud on my new boots, right? That I would never be able to find these boots ever again. They were not even expensive. It's just they were from Cusco and I will never find these boots again. But anyways, we go there and the entire day he's mad like me, like he's not waiting for me. We're at the side, he's just like walking his own way. We get to the hotel, he's not talking. The day in the morning after, we're at breakfast. I'm like, hey, good morning, you know how I am, always like, hey, what's up, good morning. And he's like not talking. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? And I ask him a question, okay, so today what are we gonna do, blah blah. And he leaves. Like he leaves the table. I'm like, what is wrong with the guy? Like, you know. And I finish my breakfast, I go to the room, I'm like, do we have a problem? And he's like, no, not talking. I was like, well, let it out, because we're gonna be together for 3 weeks. You better, you know, tell me what's going on or something's gonna happen. And then he's like, yeah, you're so and then he starts lashing me for 15 minutes how I'm such a freaking lazy ass because I'm not walking and I wanted to take a cab. How did I dare wanting to take a cab, pretending that it's because it was raining when it was just because I didn't want to dirty my boots, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh my God, is that my dad or is that a freaking 2 years old I'm talking to right now? And so, but mean, really mean, like he hates me. I'm like, dude, the guy hates me for some boots. Like he has a serious problem. And like, so of course I start crying, I start yelling at him, are you fucking kidding me? I'm planning this entire trip for you. You're giving me shit for boots, whatever. So this is the kind of relationship I've had with my dad all of my life. But then, so wonder why I've been traveling, being away from everything for so long. I just couldn't stand the family relationships. So, of course, you know, I would go back to France, I would see each other, that would be, you know, diplomatic relationships, until my grandma became unable to take care of herself, right? She's 97, she's 92 years old. She can't take care of herself. So when I got cut in the middle, my battery turned off. No, actually my phone was full, completely full. So when my grandma wasn't able to take care of herself, we had to have some assistant come with her, you know, home care help. Nurses, they would come every day, morning and evening, to go take care of her. We're trying to see the options, right? Because for me, the only solution was that she would stay at our house, because she made me promise all of my life, right? So we had people come help her, nurses, even like pay someone extra to come and see her every day. But they found her in the morning, you know, because she fell, like she couldn't walk. She was, you know, hearing voices and Because, you know, when you're at the end of your life, this is interesting actually, because I want to bring all this to consciousness. Because consciousness can explain a lot of the phenomena. For example, when you're at the end of your life, they say that people become senile, but they're not senile. It's because their soul is starting the crossover journey. The body is still here functioning. I mean, kind of, you can see the body is not functioning that much. So because the body is not functioning that much, it cannot retain the entirety of the soul. This is when the soul starts getting out of the body and journeying across that tunnel, right? Wow, oh my God, ooh, I can see it. It's funny because I just posted that tunnel on Instagram this morning. I'm inside. They're in that tunnel, and it's this tunnel, there is all the timelines, just like Interstellar, the movie, when he's in the middle at the end. Sorry, see, I have all these ticks on my face. I'm always like, doing this stuff because I'm stressed. When he's in Interstellar, at the beginning she sees the book keeps falling in her room and she thinks it's a ghost, and at the end she realizes it was her dad in this time tunnel, trying to catch her attention, trying to send her signals, right? So this is how it is. The soul starts traveling in this tunnel to the other life, right? The afterlife, whether you believe in heaven or the one consciousness in the stars, the cosmos, wherever you believe. You know, when I was a child, I used to close my eyes. I was like, what does it feel to be dead? You know, and for me, it was literally like, I close my eyes, I reopen my eyes as a new life. I was like, you can never be dead. So I didn't really have this vision of like what's in between two lives, which actually Dolores Cannon wrote an interesting book about it called Between Life and Death. Between Death and Life. So in between the two. But so I didn't really have this vision of what's in between, but for sure as a child I already believed in reincarnation, because I really felt this as a human perspective. I close my eyes, I reopen my eyes, and it's a new life. Like there's no nothing. There's no death. Like there can't be a nothing, because there is always something. Like that was really this feeling. And so she's starting to remember things from when she was my age and telling me that was crazy, because sometimes I would be living something, an experience, and she would call me on the phone and she's like, oh, I saw them on TV. Oh my God, you know, things that traumatized her at the time. And it's exactly what I'm living. And I'm like, oh my God, she's here. She's there, but she's here. We're in a time loop right now, reliving the scenes. So I can understand what she didn't tell me. So I can see the other side of it, the other perspective, and heal her unhealed trauma. And I feel like she's still alive until I close up some cycles. But she's definitely right now in between life and death, right? Her soul is already in between, so she can't have her full mind, you know. So the doctor would say, oh, she's hallucinating, she has hallucinations, so they would give her medicine, you know, drugs and stuff. I'm like, she's not hallucinating, she's in a time tunnel, like it's real, you know. She would like, oh, there was someone in my house, they pushed me. And I'm like, yes, because you open the portal, so you have entities that come in and out. Of course, makes sense. But the doctors, you know, they were like, yeah, okay, she's crazy, you know, maybe we should give her the drugs. I don't need you for that, thank you. I have my own stuff. But no, and that made me think of, you know, narcolepsy, for example. Narcolepsy, the people who suffer from, you know, these people who fall asleep like that, are actually astral travelers. You know, when I do a channeling, sometimes I feel like I'm channeling an entity, or I'm all of a sudden I need to write, or I need to record a video. Like right now, this morning, I was like, oh my God, I need to record something right now. I don't even know what I'm gonna say, but there's something coming through me, this information that needs to be recorded for whoever is watching right now, or at whatever timeline this is gonna be useful. Um, After that, I'm really tired. Like, even every time there is an entity, I start yawning. Yeah, I start yawning. Like, I'm with someone, I'm with a healer, he start talking, I start yawning. For example, when I was watching the Breakthrough Challenge with Tony Robbins and Sage Robbins, when Sage came at the last day, Sage and one of her friend healer, I don't remember his name, they both came, right? And they started this like meditation. As soon as literally they showed up, I started yawning, but like exaggerating yawning. Like, you don't yawn like that. I was like just yawning, and I was like, it's not that I'm tired. It's just like this. My body is being used as channel right now, so all the energy is being pulled for being this conduct. So it requires, okay, your body energy. Where are the power plant? And sometimes if you overuse, like overload, like one of your how do you say devices, utilities, things like that, they can over saturate sorry, saturate, and then shut off. And so it's the same thing with the body. And so the people who I think who have like this high consciousness, and sometimes they just sleep a lot, or they could fall asleep. Sometimes I can sleep like 12 hours. I'm like, oh, what's going on? It's just because my body is adjusting to like downloads and light codes and stuff. And schizophrenia as well. I don't believe people are actually schizophrenic. I believe people have experienced these polarities. People are empaths. They are such empaths that they connect to this collective consciousness, and we all have our polarities, and we all connect to each other. Empathy and others by telepathy. You know, if you have this telepathy, I've experienced a lot of telepathy with many people, that we establish this connection, and all of a sudden we're talking. And it's why it's so crazy now, because you can't even have any secrets. Like, you can't have secrets, you can't bullshit people, you can bullshit each other, because we can read each other's mind. Like, sometimes I'm like trying to figure my own things out, and like the people, they already know. I'm like, man, I can't even can't even like try to figure my things out, and I have to be accountable all the time, because you're so connected to the collective consciousness that they already know, you know. And so you connect with these other people, and they channel through you. And sometimes you like, you have some reactions. You're like, oh, was that me? Or was this a collective consciousness? Was I collective with someone else? It happens a lot to me with like strong feelings, empathy. You know, I can feel people, you know, when they're feeling or they're sad and things like that. So I think the schizophrenic people that have this natural ability, and it's not sickness, it's actually a gift. They have to connect. So we need to, instead of trying to shut it off, trying to teach naturally how to protect yourself, okay? Either how to establish like healthy channels, or put natural boundaries or pathways, just like the circulation, right? And in the road, you can't just have people driving all the way around. You need to have kind of like roundabouts and lanes and bridges, right? To make it more healthy. So, you know, people are, it's yeah, you get what I mean, safer, right? So it's the same with our connections, how to manage it. So this is the new era. Our consciousness is elevating. This is a new traffic. This is the new traffic. It's the traffic of consciousness. How do we manage it? How, you know? So anyways, all this to say that magic is alive. That is the theme of this session. Magic is alive. Okay, I don't believe we have power. We have the power, because the power we have is to work on ourselves, to to manage this, to manage our emotions. But the power itself, the energy itself, is the universal energy. It is super powerful and it channels through us. So, and for the best, the best outcome possible. So my example about that is that, so my grandma, so in the end, we had to consider putting her in a retirement home, right? What she didn't want, but we didn't really have a choice. I wasn't there to take care of her. I offered to have her move here with me, but I was already struggling with taking care of my own child and not having a job, and how I was gonna, it's a full time, and she didn't even want it because she's scared of taking the airplane, so that wasn't an option. And we're considering putting her in a retirement home. So that wasn't the problem. The problem is that my dad did it behind my back. So she was in her house, and I learned like 3 weeks after, I learned like the week later that she fell. She fell, she went to the hospital, she was hospitalized, and my dad wouldn't go pick her up at the hospital. He wouldn't go pick her up at the hospital. He was just, no, I'm just gonna leave her, whatever happens to her, either they bring her home or they put her in a home, whatever, that's not my responsibility. I'm like, man, if I was there, I would go pick her up and bring her home. What are you doing? He left my grandma for 3 weeks in a hospital, like by herself, 92 years old, senile, after falling, like literally like black eye, in a hospital by herself with nobody. And after that, so of course I would call her every day. And after that, I learned that he put her in a retirement home without even giving her her stuff, nothing, right? And then I learned from the house assistant, the health assistant, the nurse, that he actually put an announcement on Craigslist for people to just, because he didn't want to empty the apartment. Now that she wasn't going to come back to her apartment, he didn't want to empty the apartment. That wasn't his job either, So he put an announcement on, because the real estate agency, they were like, okay, well, we need to have the apartment back. You need to empty it. He's like, no, that's not, you guys do it. That's not my job. I don't care. He put an announcement on Craigslist, left the door open and say, hey, this is the apartment. Just go get whatever you want. Without even asking me if I wanted to get anything. Like my artwork that was there, my grandfather's artwork. Luckily, she gave me the summer before I went there. She knew that, she was older, and she gave me the jewelry that I asked her. Since I was a child, I was like, oh my God, this medallion. Can I have the medallion? Can I have the medallion? She's like, when I'm older, I will give it to you, So luckily, the summer before that, she gave me like the jewelry that I wanted, but it's not really for the value, it's for the emotional value. There were other stuff that maybe a price not very valuable, but for me it was. He left it open and put an announcement on Craigslist for anyone to go pick up whatever they want without even telling me. So the thing is not what he did, it's like he didn't even tell me anything. And every time I would talk to him, he would write me this giant paragraph of hate, like, wow, whatever, oh yeah, well, I got her vaccinated for COVID, but I imagine that it's the wrong thing anyways, right? Because everything I do is stupid. I was like, I didn't even say anything. Like, he would just like hate, like, and literally every time I would write him like one line with a question and end up with like one giant paragraph of hate until the day I was like, that is it, you fucking douchebag. Like, I sent him a video, I recorded a special video for him, like, that he will remember all of his life, I think. But that was it. I was like, you will never talk to me this way again, dude. And so this was the end. This was the last time I talked to my dad, and after what he did to my grandma without even telling me, right? So this was kind of the status of our relationship. I don't even know if I'm going to post this because I don't like to talk bad. Like I said, he's just like a spoiled child. But it's interesting to know, like I'm not here to bring hate towards him. Like I said, it's more like how do you raise your children? Because I used to give everything to my child, but then I would see that he would start having these reactions like, hey, you're just gonna clean up my water. Hey, he's eating, he leaves everything on the table, he's 5 years old. I'm like, hey, can you help me clean up the thing? No, you do it. I'm like, oh, ho, ho, you. You are not going to become your grandfather. I'm telling you already, you're gonna move your ass from this chair and put it in a freaking trash can. Like, this is how I talk to my son. I'm like, maybe spoiling your kids is not always the right solution. Sometimes you have to toughen up a little bit. Otherwise, they think the world is too easy, and then they're gonna fall from far, when they discover how tough it can be. Or at least how much efforts you have to make to compromise, to live in a world, in a society with other people. He lives by himself. He has nobody. He doesn't talk to anybody. He can't stand anybody. He hates everybody. And I'm not angry. I'm sad for him. I'm sad for him. I'm like, wow, this is why I'm so social, always telling everybody how I love them. But doesn't mean like, I take no shit either. But so anyways, all this to say that after that, I don't talk to my dad anymore. I traveled to France as soon as I could last summer, set up all my grandma, the retirement home, went to buy her clothes, stuff, even glasses. He left her, she didn't even have her glasses, right, to see. So I took her to the doctor to make new glasses, everything, right, with my child, and had to get my own apartment, everything, while I'm getting in debt. So all this like accumulates, right? But I'm like, it's okay, I don't need anybody. This is my own choice. No one is responsible for it. Till yesterday, that I called the retirement home after my trip to Egypt, and I sent her videos and photos of me every day. And I was like, hey guys, no one is responding to me. What's going on? Why I don't have any news from my grandma? I called them. They're like, oh yeah, she's been at the hospital for 3 weeks. I'm like, no one called me? Like, my grandma has been in a hospital by herself for 3 weeks and no one freaking called me. And then I'm like, I'm gonna kill my freaking dad. I'm gonna kill him. Like, and this is when it gets interesting, how magic is alive. And yes, we are powerful. And yes, our intuition, the power of intention is powerful, but not as powerful as the greater good, not as powerful as the universe, and this is like the greatest thing, because that was so funny. So I take my voodoo doll, right? So I take, it's not a voodoo doll, it's just like one of my friends gave me this, brought me this from China the other time, and I get to my bathroom yesterday and it's there, right? It's there next to my little heart, and I'm so mad at my dad, and I'm like, this is the day you die. I'm like, no one touches my grandma. Like, no one can treat my grandma like this. How do you treat your own mother like this, right? So I'm like, oh, so I take the thing and I put these needles, right? Like 2 in the eye, 1 in the mouth, and 1 in the heart. And I put this there. And then next to it, I put these essential oils, this hand sanitizer. These are all like super symbolic of like, kind of like the tunnel, right? I'm sending in the vibes like that. Like the oils, the prodigious oil, on guard, okay? Like, watch your ass, because I'm freaking coming for you. Hand sanitizer, and the essential oils, 100% natural, because this is natural magic, right? Okay, so at that point, you're probably like, oh my God, this chick is evil. I knew it. All this magic stuff, she's doing dark magic. This is a witch, everything, whatever. I don't care. I know who I am when no one is watching. I'm actually a pretty good person. And believe it or not, within the hour, my dad, who hasn't talked to me in years, writes to me, and he's like, well, I ask him, hey, what's going on with grandma? But usually he doesn't even answer, and he writes back to me, and he's like, and usually he would like I said, write me this long message of hate, and he writes me this little paragraph. Hey, yeah, she's at that hospital. How are you doing? I haven't had news from you and Esteban for a while. And well, I didn't reply to him because I'm not interested in establishing a relationship with him anymore. But I was like, wow, that is crazy, because I thought I was, cursing him, but I was actually doing acupuncture on him, acupuncture on his eyes, because he was like, oh, I haven't seen you and Esteban for a while. So the two needles, right? I haven't seen you and Esteban for a while. And one in the mouth is talking to me, and the one in the heart, because instead of like lashing me, he's actually weirdly nice. Like, just saying how are you is kind of nice from him. But and I was like, wow, that is crazy. It worked. Not with the intention that I had, because later on I understood. I was like, do I really want to hurt my dad? Like, I would have this on my consciousness for the rest of my life, like I said, I'm more sad for what he's become, how he's denied the rest of his family, but do I really want to hurt him, and plus doing black magic or cursing people always gets back to you. Like, it's a cycle, right? It's a cycle. But this time I felt really like it was greater than me. It was greater for my intention. It worked, but it reached to him, but for how he corrected his behavior. Like, it was an acupuncture session, and that unlocked something in him. So that was pretty crazy. So I wanted to record this. I don't know if I would share it with someone or not, but that was my little voodoo magic experience, which, by the way, I have never done this. I do a little magic more with the colors, like I was explaining last time how when I got divorced, when I separated with my husband, okay, this is like the black magic thing today. When I separated with my husband, we were both broke, right? We bought this house that we could just afford. And of course, there is always more expenses, more unforecast things. Plus, I love to travel. I don't compromise on traveling. So we just couldn't afford it. So we were both broke. And so that was the main part of our divorce. The fight was about who's gonna keep the house, right? I was like, you have a job, you can go wherever you want. I don't have a job. I sacrificed my entire career and time and everything to be home with my son, which was our agreement. But now he was like, oh, you don't have anything, you can leave. I was like, no, because I don't have anything, I'm staying. And you have a job, you have a paycheck, you can afford to live somewhere else. I was like, no one is gonna give me a mortgage right now. Okay, so you can't like turn back the situation that I sacrificed for you, for your career, to my disadvantage now that I'm gonna lose everything after leaving my own careers and everything. So well, I really wanted to leave, right? And we still live together at that point. Like, it's been 2 years that we've been separated and divorced, but we're too broke still to live apart. And I was like, I'm out of it. I'm still out of it. I'm like, man, imagine like 2 years, like living with your ex. It's like, so I did this painting, and it was like a lavender field because my husband was allergic to lavender. So I painted these lavenders, like painting these lavenders everywhere, putting lavender curtains, everything in the house, like hoping that it would like repulse him. And it did, because he was never here. But anyways, that's just, the little, and it's cute, it's not like I actually hurted someone, but it's more, how you can use colors and all this stuff to push something. But yesterday that was interesting during the breakthrough, no, the Impact Accelerator live. They were talking about the pull is stronger than the push. when you're trying to push people, or when you to push something, it's not as strong when there is that pull towards you, or that pull that towards people, because pushing means you're trying to influence, manipulate. The pull is that there's really an attraction, okay, that you can affinity and attractions and stuff like that. So you can also, so that was my little negative stories, right, on experience, but it doesn't matter because universe is stronger than you. But you can still, and I believe if you use it with good intention, it works as well, you know. For all these years I used my, here I'm gonna put some Van Gogh behind us. For all these years I used my my paintings kind of like talisman, and trying to recode the matrix. And if you go to my social media, I had like almost not even 1,000 followers. I have like about 1,000 followers on both of my channels, and no comments, you know, no really feedback, no sales and everything. So when I look at this and I'm like, oh, I'm not making a living to my art, I'm like, it doesn't work. I'm such an imposter. I'm such a failure. Like, none of my magical thing that I keep claiming is working. Like, I'm still here living with my ex after 2 years, and it's not real. But then I look at the quality of my life and I'm like, but my only concern right now is that I'm not independent. That's it. That's it. That's the only thing. I'm not independent. And at the same time, I don't crave for independence. I crave for sharing all this with someone, with the people. I crave for partnerships and love and friendships and family and social interaction, connection. So this is not independence. This is not, how do they call it? So much of self-love. I have the self-love. I know my worth, even though you need to have a reminder all the time because you lose the hope and everything. But this is the only thing. Everything else that is brought to me, the network, the level of connection with my new family, my new network, all of this is what way beyond what I could ever imagine. And people don't see it, but I feel it. And I'm like, wow, so it worked. It works crazy. Like, I have done exhibitions in Miami, in France. I've traveled, you know, to Egypt, to all over the place, Mexico, Peru. I've met people from all around the world. I do training, you know, with the masterminds, the Resonance Science Foundation. Like, I've been to all the things that passionates me. I'm not saying I've done everything, but everything that passionates me and makes me super excited, I do it. Even if I don't have the time or I don't have the money, I just find a way that I try to do it. I try to be there, you know, and this has brought me this level of connection that for me is the most important. So I'm like, in the end, and I still live in a beautiful house and I still get to travel. So, you know, it's relativity. And I'm like, wow, it did work. And like Tony says, you know, it's everything comes in time. Like, not everything is gonna fall in one place, but it's been many times. So that's why it's important to follow trainings and to remember every day where you belong. Okay, so all right, that's it for today. Hope you have a great day. Thank you for watching. Don't do the black magic, okay? Always good, you pure intentions. And remember that the people who are the angriest are the ones who suffer the most, okay? The outcasts, the delinquents, mostly, I'm not talking about, there are psychopaths and criminals and people who actually enjoy hurting others, right? But most of the time, the people who hurt, you know what we say, hurt people, you know, wow, it's like when you're single, you know, and you see all your friends that are couples, you know, you're so happy for them, but to that point that you're like, oh, that's so cute, oh, another happy couple, yay, oh, happy couple, oh my god, I'm so happy for you guys, yeah, okay, to a certain point, right? So And then you become, frustrated, and you'd be like, oh, whatever. It's not because you're not happy for people, it's because you're not happy with yourself, you're not fulfilled yourself. And I think this is the same with angry people. They're so, like my dad, for example, so disappointed on society that he doesn't want to give it back to it. He's suffering so much, and what he would need. I remember one day we had this conversation, and he was like, oh, you're telling me that I have to take care of grandma, I have to do the paper for the apartment, I have to but pretty much my only thing I ever ask him is to take care of my grandma when I'm not here. That's literally the only one thing I ever ask him. But he's like, who takes care of me? Who worries about me? I'm like, I worry about you, I write to you all the time. But he needed more, because we need love every day, not just once a week. Hey, how are you doing? Or a phone call, 10 minutes, hey, how's, all he needs is love in his life, someone who understands his flaws and that love him for who he is. But he's really not an easy person. Like anyway, I'm not gonna keep going on that. But yeah, so remember that the hurt people. Okay, the angriest people, they are the ones who need the most compassion and love and supporting. And don't assume that your strong friends don't need it either, okay? But because I feel sometimes that my friends, they used to call me all the time, oh, the positive one, oh, she's so positive, she's so strong, everywhere she goes, she finally, she gets the job that she wants, or but then no one would ask for how I'm doing, and I was in this worst place of my life 3 years ago. None of my friends would ask me. And then I went to France and I told them everything that happened to me. They were like, oh my God, we could never imagine. We thought that you were living the life, that everything was so amazing for you. You always look so positive. I'm like, yeah, because I'm trying to keep it strong for my son and for my followers. I don't want to be complaining all the time. I want to show the best, because that's the vibes I want them to receive and spread as well. But or when I see my mentors, for example, we always like, oh, my mentors, they bring me so much, alignment or fulfillment or motivation, all of that. But why am I always like sending paintings for them or doing like a shout out, oh, you guys are amazing and stuff? Because don't think that because they're the strong people, they don't go through things in their lives or doubts as well. Your strong friends also need the love and the support. Sometimes more than other, because they're catalysts. They're doing so much work on themselves to convert. I see Dean and Tony as well, but like Dean is such like peaceful energy. Like right away you're in his presence, right away you're like, oh, I'm home. Like just when it's just like when I smoke weed. When I first started smoking weed, I was just like, I live my life normally, and I'm okay, I'm good, or I'm angry, or I have my emotions, whatever. And then I smoke weed and I feel like I'm normal. And I'm like, oh wow, that was how I'm supposed to be. That was how I feel good. Like, try, if you don't smoke weed, you should try it. Like, you're like, oh, that was when the veil is lifted and I feel better, I see better. And Dean is the same for me. It's like when I'm with Dean, it's like, oh, now I'm feeling like aligned, like in this peace, in home, and I can't even imagine the amount of emotions and transmuting that they are doing every day. They have millions of people with struggles and everything that they are trying to find solution to switch this to more alignment and solution and more empowerment, instead of being like, oh, come on, get out of your bed. Like, of course, sometimes you need a kick, and they do it. But, and like Tony Robbins says, like, you can treat everybody the same. Like a dog, you're gonna yell at a dog and then he's gonna obey you. A dolphin, it's not like that. If you yell at a dolphin, it's gonna run away and never come back. I'm the same, because my dad used to scream at me all of my life. If someone dares yelling at me, that's it, they will never see me again. But compassion, empathy, this is my pull, right? So when I see how much work they do to align with people and transmute, convert their emotions, I'm like, wow, they need us to do it for them as well. They need us to be their pillars. They need our energy. We're like a circuit, right? It's not just a one-to-one. The energy circuit doesn't work like this. Okay, it's a circular energy like that. So yeah, all right. Thank you for watching. I love you guys. Have a great day, and we'll talk later. Bye bye.